Welcome back, DCS Hacks fans. It's Cavi599 on GARF's channel again with the first of our training videos for AI ATC. Basically, how to make radio calls like a boss. Well, at least USAF style, okay? The link at the bottom I'll put in the description, and it's just the PDF version of essentially this training, if you will, okay? Sorry it took me so long to make this since we posted that AI ATC teaser, but I got COVID and I started coughing my lungs out, and then I lost my voice, and I just got my voice back not too long ago, and at least I'm coughing less. So if I start coughing during this, well, there you have it, okay? This is part one. Let's do a little basics on AI ATC, okay? AI ATC is actually a mod or a script that you can add to any Nellis NTTR mission file along with audio sound files, and it allows you to interact using the F10 other function key when you have the radio menu brought up. Once you hit F10, it'll give you all the stations and all the functions that are capable using the function keys. Okay, so it's a function key driven AI, if you will, and it gives you essentially pseudo close to real world air traffic control radio calls and instructions and directions and things like that. All right, so you could actually do it all using the function keys, but what we did was we added VoiceAttack. For those of you who don't know what VoiceAttack is, I recommend you look it up. I'm not going to talk about it much except how we use it here. Okay, but there is a free version of this which gives you a single profile up to 20 commands, and we were able to make a profile that can be used on the free version. And what it does is it automates the function key process based on what you say. We put in a push to talk function, so you actually have to push essentially a radio button typically on your throttle of your HOTAS. Okay, you assign the button, and then whenever you engage the push to talk, VoiceAttack starts listening, and it's listening for spoken words. So if you say clearance, as in clearance delivery, it'll actually go through the function keys to get you to the clearance channel, and then you can assign your call sign as well as your IFR or VFR departure routing and things like that. Okay, so it actually functions kind of like in real life. When you key the mic, you make a radio call, VoiceAttack will do all of the function keys, and then you'll get a response back from the AI air traffic controller, and it'll actually sound and kind of feel like you actually did it in real life, the way we normally would do it in real life. All right. Okay, so how do you make these radio calls? One of the first things we learned in Air Force pilot training is no matter how bad you fly, you must sound good on the radio. Okay, and the format that we use is the who, what format. And you go, what? The who? Okay, who, what means who you are wanting to talk to or speak to, call sign wise, and who you are, your call sign, and what the message is. All right. So the idea here is to be as concise as possible and still relay your message without jamming up the radios. Okay, so for an example, let's say that this came up on the radio. Hello, good morning, Nellis Ground Control. This is Chaos 11. I'm a Navy F-18 parked in Gulf Ramp, spot 19, and I'm requesting engine start right now. May I please do that? Okay, if you did this on the radio for real at Nellis, everybody who was on the radio would start hitting their tone button at you, essentially poking you in the eye and laughing their asses off, okay? Because, first of all, you didn't do the who, what. Who do you want to talk to? Nellis Ground, okay? Or you can even just say ground, okay? Who are you? Well, I'm Chaos 11, all right? And what's your real message? Well, I want to start my engines. So really, you could have just said, ground, Chaos 11, engine start. And you just said in about a second and a half what took you roughly 30 seconds originally. All right? But before we go on with the radio stuff, let's do a little primer on Airspace Basics. The NTTR, or the Nevada Test and Training Range, is north of Nellis, which is in the northeast corner of the Las Vegas Class Bravo airspace. Okay, Class Bravo airspace typically have international airports, things like that. It's heavily controlled. There's lots of equipment required. You got to be in radio contact, blah, 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 and it's kind of difficult to get in and out of. All right, and Nellis is physically inside of that Class Bravo airspace. It is a towered airfield. So, Class Bravo airspace with a towered airfield, you're generally going to have a clearance delivery channel or person who gives the clearances out to allow you to leave Class Bravo and also come back into the Class Bravo, as well as coordinating with the other agencies so that you can transit Class Echo and Alpha and all those other airspaces. There will also be a ground controller who controls the movement on the ground of that airfield, and a local controller, call sign is tower, that controls the patterns and the clearances for takeoff and landings and so forth. Okay, some towers do not have a clearance delivery, and the ground controller will hand out the clearances because there isn't a clearance delivery. That's just how it works. Once you leave the Class Bravo airspace and you're transiting to go into the NTTR, which is, by the way, a military operating area, a MOA. All right, you would talk to departure control to get you out there, and then when you're coming back, you're going to talk to an approach control to get you back to the tower through the Class Bravo airspace. Once you get to the Class Alpha airspace, you would normally talk to Air Route Traffic Control Center. The call sign is center, but we're not going to do that here because you're going straight into the MOA through transit corridors. And we'll talk about Sally and Lee, and then a range controller, Blackjack, later on. Okay, but when you're coming back, then you're going to be talking to the corridor controllers, Sally and Lee, and then they're going to push you to approach control from there. All right, so these are the stations you're going to be contacting in AI ATC. NATSIF clearance delivery. By the way, NATSIF is number one there on the far left, upper left corner, is Nellis Air Traffic Control Facility. Okay, you're going to talk to clearance delivery to get your clearance and set your call sign in AI ATC. You're going to then talk to ground to get clearance to start your engines, and then clearance to move on the ground until you get to the tower or to the runway so that you can talk tower. You'll be pushed onto the tower, and then you will talk to tower to get clearance for takeoff and or landing and pattern work and stuff like that when you come back. And then once you're leaving the airport traffic area, you will talk to departure control typically, and they will hand you off once you get to the range to a range controller. In our case, the call sign is Blackjack. All right, and then when you're coming home, you'll be going through the corridors, the north corridor or the west corridor, Sally or Lee. Okay, NATSIF Sally, NATSIF Lee are the call signs. And what those corridors look like this. And that's the Sally corridor, the vertical one, north corridor, and the green one, the west corridor, is Lee. Okay, and then once you're out of those corridors, oh, by the way, this is what it looks like on the F10 map. And the Lee corridor will take you to gate 1 and 2, and the Sally corridor will take you to gate 3 and 4. I personally prefer gate 3 because it's just closer for fuel reasons. Okay, and then Sally and Lee will also need to know whether you're recovering back to the field IFR or VFR. All right, and then and we'll discuss this a little bit more here in just a moment. And then you'll be pushed to approach control as you're approaching Nellis again. And when you're about 10 miles from the field, you'll be pushed onto tower frequency to get clearance to land or do pattern work. And then once you've landed, you'll be pushed onto tower so that you can taxi back to park. Let's talk a little bit about clearance delivery. In real life, they will give you clearances to get through the Class Bravo airspace. Don't be confused. IFR and VFR are two different things. IFR means instrument flight rules or regulations that we follow when you're flying and being controlled by an air traffic controller, the controllers are responsible to give you vertical and lateral separation from aircraft and obstacles as well. Okay? IMC means that instrument meteorological conditions, or you're physically flying around inside of clouds and you cannot see visually things that you might bump into. Okay? So if you're visual flight rules, that means you're using your Mark 1 eyeball to look around and make sure that you're not going to bump into anything like that. So if you're flying around on a VFR flight plan, flying around VFR visually, and you fly into clouds, then that can't be done because you can't visually clear. So therefore, if you're in the clouds, you must be on an IFR flight plan at that point. VMC just means that you're not in any clouds and you can see. All right, that's enough of that. Let's talk about AI ATC basics. Clearance delivery. Okay, in AI ATC, we use clearance delivery not only to give you a clearance, to get you a clearance, but we use it to set your call sign. So VoiceAttack is actually listening for the words clearance delivery. When it hears clearance delivery, it sets up the function key sequence so that it will set up the call sign that you want to use. So when you say clearance delivery, Dragon 4.1, it will now set up Dragon 4.1 for your call sign in AI ATC. And then you must say clearance on request, because VoiceAttack is listening for that so that it knows that, okay, he's going to want either an IFR or VFR departure in a specific routing. Okay? So you must say clearance on request and then tell it which routing. What are the call signs? Well, there's actually over 100 call signs on DCS, but these are the 6 that, on blue and 6 on red that you can use. And we just limited it to these 12 so as to minimize the stress and strain on VoiceAttack, because it'll crash and die. We actually broke it up into 2 different profiles, a blue profile and a red profile, just for performance sake for VoiceAttack. Okay? And you're saying, well, what are the routings? Well, the routings are either IFR, Dream 7, Fighter 7, Mormon Mesa 8, or VFR, Flex North, Flex West, Flex 3M. Okay? And if you're wondering, what the hell are those? Well, we've got knee boards on all of those departures within AI ATC, as well as the VFR, Flex West and North, and 3M transition. Okay? So don't worry too much about that at this point. Right, from there, it should look like this. Clearance delivery, Aspen 1.1, clearance on request, IFR, Dream 7. Now, if you make big pregnant pauses, clearance delivery, Aspen 1.1, clearance on request, IFR, Dream 7. VoiceAttack will be rolling on the ground laughing, and it will do nothing. Okay, so you're going to have to sound good on the radio and practice these. Clearance delivery, Chaos 2.1, clearance on request, IFR, Fighter 7. Okay, if you say it like that, it will hear all that. And on my demo video later on, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you'll actually see the F key function set up, and it will kind of go through its iterations after you've spoken those words. Clearance delivery, Cylon 3.1, clearance on request, IFR, Mormon Mesa 8. Okay? So practice makes perfect. Practice those ahead of time before you try to spew it out. If you get lost along the way and you stop, VoiceAttack will just stop also, and it won't understand what you're trying to say. So all you have to do is basically key the mic again to clear it and then start over. Oh yeah, I also built this little cheat sheet that should be in the kneeboard section, and I just realized I need to make a second one for the instrument approaches and all the instrument stuff that comes later on. But that's a different part, so we'll get to that another time. Okay, then you'll get on to ground, and you're going to contact ground to request the engine start. Okay, you must say ground for VoiceAttack to know who you're talking to. Ground, Chaos 2.1, request engine start. Or you could say ground chaos 2-1 engine start. Or you can even just say start. You say any one of those three, those are all acceptable, and you'll get clearance to start. Okay, when you're ready to taxi, once again, you got to say ground chaos 2-1, request taxi for takeoff. Or taxi for takeoff, taxi takeoff, taxi with ATIS. My favorite is taxi with the numbers because I forgot what ATIS letter was. Okay, and taxi with the numbers means you have all the ATIS data, you just don't remember the number, or the letter of the ATIS. All those are acceptable for both engine start and taxi for VoiceAttack. Once you get pushed to tower, you're going to contact tower to get clearance for takeoff and landing and pattern work for later on. Also, when you come up to a runway, use the term holding short, okay? And you must say tower so that VoiceAttack knows who you're talking to. Tower, chaos 2-1, holding short. When you say holding short, it's going to give you the function key sequence to get you to cross the runway. And when you're ready for takeoff, you can say tower, chaos 2-1, ready for takeoff, or ready takeoff, ready takeoff, number 1. In sequence. In sequence means that you're behind another airplane. In sequence, you could be number 2, 3, or 37. You're just in the sequence. Those are all acceptable on VoiceAttack. If you get line up and wait, that means controller wants you to get onto the runway, centered up on the center line, wait for takeoff clearance. Okay, we used to call it position and hold, but now it's line up and wait, which is an ICAO verbiage. Okay, once you're leaving the airfield anyway, you're going to contact departure. You must say departure for VoiceAttack. Departure chaos 2-1 passing 3,000. Okay, and that's the initial check-in right there. If they tell you to ident, you say departure chaos 2-1 flash. Flash means you're identing. When you're reporting a fix that you're assigned to report, you say departure chaos 2-1 is Juno, or at Juno, or reporting Juno. Any one of those three phrases are acceptable. And of course, departure and blackjack, you can say departure chaos 2-1 request vector to Juno, and the controller will give you a vector. In real life, you must acknowledge or read back all clearances, headings, and altitudes that are assigned. Okay. The reality is AI ATC is not a real person, so the reason we acknowledge everything is to make sure that the pilot received the correct direction that they got from the controller and so forth. Okay. However, AI ATC in reality doesn't care. Okay, I still do it because that's a habit pattern that I want to keep. Otherwise, I get lazy, and I'll go out there for real, and I'll start not repeating back stuff, and then I'll get in trouble. So, with that, let's take a look at the demo video. Disclaimer here, the first one's going to be a real-life demo video of me flying a Black T-38 out of Beale Air Force Base. Beale Air Force Base does not have a separate clearance delivery, so clearances are passed out by ground as well as engine starts and movement on the ground. Okay, the second video is AI ATC video that I flew just for this particular case. And if you watch in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see the functions that actually go on after I make radio calls and so forth. So let's watch the video.
Beale Grand, Roper 36, clearance on request, ready to copy with engine start on the T-38 ramp.
Roper 36, Beale Grand, engine start approved at your discretion. Clear to Beale Airport via the boomerang stereo as filed. Flight runway heading maintain 9,000, expect flight level 220, 5 minutes after departure. NorCal departure frequency 270.25, squawk 451 tree.
Roper 36, copy 9,000, expect 220 after 5 minutes on 27025, squawk 4513.
Roper 36, read back correct, advise and ready to taxi with Lima.
Roper 36 will go.
Ground Roper 36, taxi with Lima.
Roper 36, runway 15, taxi via Bravo.
36 taxing 15 VFR.
Rapid 55. Opinion 55 on the VFR pattern squawk 0 tree 50.
Tower upper 36 number 1.
Over 36 Bill Tower, Lilo 15, wind 2809, clear for takeoff, change departure.
Upper 36 clear takeoff. Lights set, good seal. Two good engines. Potato 2, potato 3, good blower, 2 good blowers. Speeds alive. 6 feet. 30. 62 gears clear. Flaps coming up. Gears up, flaps up. And Orca, good afternoon, Roper 36 passing 500 for 9,000.
Roper 36, NorCal departure, radar contact, climb and maintain flight level 220.
Roper 36 climbing at 220.
Temperature 13. Dew point 12.0. Altimeter 30.20.
Clearance delivery, Dragon 1-1, clearance on request, IFR Dream 7.
Dragon 1-1, Nellis clearance, cleared North War via Dream 7 departure. Squawk 3001 sequential, departure frequency 385.4. Contact Nellis ground prior to taxi.
Dragon 1-1, squawk 3001. Ground, Dragon 1-1, request engine start.
Dragon 1-1, Nellis ground. Engine start approved. Advise when ready to taxi.
Dragon 1-1, Wilco. Ground, Dragon 1-1, request taxi with the numbers.
Dragon 1-1, Nellis ground. Runway 03 left. Taxi via Golf Alpha. Contact tower holding short runway 03 right.
Dragon 1-1, Wilco.
Dragon 1-1, hold short.
Tower, Dragon 1-1, holding short.
Dragon 1-1, cross runway 03 right. Hold short 03 left.
Dragon 1-1, Wilco. Tower, Dragon 1-1, number 1.
Dragon 1-1, line up and wait.
Dragon 1-1, line up, wait.
Dragon 1-1, runway 03 left. Wind is 140 at 4. Cleared for takeoff. Switch departure.
Dragon cleared takeoff. Departure, Dragon 1-1, passing 3,000.
Dragon 1-1, Nellis departure. Radar contact. Dream 7 departure. Intercept the 344 radial. Climb and maintain flight level 180. Report Juno.
Dragon 1-1, climbing to flight level 180, Wilco Juno. And there you go, end of part 1. We'll see you guys soon for part 2. Don't forget about Garfy there, and let's give him a good thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe to help him out, alright? Don't forget.